Did Lamar Jackson quit on the Baltimore Ravens, or are we all missing the bigger picture? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So we saw what happened with the Baltimore Ravens. Kansas City Chiefs thoroughly kicked their butts, and we saw Lamar Jackson, the frustration, and of course, let's just say this: having a quarterback that's frustrated, I think that's something that you would want to see in your quarterback. You don't want to see him have this dormant attitude, laissez-faire attitude, like he doesn't care. But I've never seen Lamar Jackson like this. And listen, he was getting slung around. He was getting beat up. You know, he can't beat Kansas City. It's a lot to it. You know what I mean? They've stood in their way like the New England Patriots stood in the Pittsburgh Steelers' way in those 2000 games. You know, Pittsburgh Steelers probably would have a few more titles if Tom Brady went standing in their way. So this is like Lamar Jackson's thing at this point. I have to get over Patrick Mahomes. I had the team last year. I didn't do it. I had a chance to kind of redeem myself a little bit this season in the game against Kansas City. We couldn't do it. You know what I mean? That's his mindset. We cannot beat them. But now they behind the eight ball. They 1-3, um, and it's a terrible trend that's kind of sitting in a way too. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, uh, Super Bowl contenders. They lost to the Buffalo Bills, Super Bowl contenders, and they lost to the Detroit Lions, Super Bowl contenders. That's a bad trend. And even them beating the Cleveland Browns, that game got out of hand because the Browns essentially kind of gave the game away and the floodgates opened and Baltimore took over. Now, one thing for sure, Baltimore's offense is cooking. It is. It's playing well. Even against Kansas City, as bad as that game was, yeah, they only scored 20 points, but the offense was moving for the most part. Lamar Jackson got 10 touchdowns and a pick. Very efficient with the ball. I mean, he has refined his game for the most part. But he was under siege that whole game. And he's trying to do a lot. And where people say he quit, I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure. They say he pulled a hamstring. He was trying to run around and make plays. We don't know. We don't know. But I also saw his frustration. Did he tap out? We don't know that either. But they was in a position where the game was over too, and Harbaugh might have just pulled the move and said, "Hey, let's pull you to the side. You look like you're limping out there, or whatever the case may be. We gonna save you from yourself." That could have been a situation itself. But the main thing, well, I'm not gonna even say this is the main thing. We gonna get to the main thing. I promise. But that defense is so bad. And they've had so many unfortunate things go on too at the same time. You ain't got Matabuke, who was a defensive player of the year candidate last year. He go stop the run and he go get pressure on the quarterback. He's out for the season with a neck injury. You brought in Jair Alexander to get on that other side of Marlon Humphrey. That was supposed to be your shutdown corner. You haven't seen him yet. He's had knee issues. They have injuries all over the place. Offensive line beat up. Offensive line is destroyed. You getting Isaiah Likely back likely this week. So they've had a lot of injuries too. So, this defense also, with Zach Orr taking over from Mike Macdonald in Seattle, they're still going through philosophy change. Yes, it's been a year, but it's things that they're still learning. Then we don't know if Nate Wiggins is going to be gone for the season because he had a rough injury yesterday. I guess what I'm trying to get to, and this is the big picture that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. This is the price of being good, but not great. What do I mean by that? Let me explain. The Baltimore Ravens have been good since Lamar Jackson took over for Joe Flacco. They've always been in the playoff race. Uh, They've always building themselves to be contenders, and they've never gotten over that hump. So now, what you have now is frustration, right? You bring Derrick Henry in. You brought DeAndre Hopkins in. You drafted Zay Flowers. You've tried a whole bunch of experiments. You brought Odell Beckham in because the offense, for the longest, just until these last 2 years and this year that we're in right now, the offense has been the issue. Lamar Jackson had to make everything happen on the offense, and the defense was good. But the defense wasn't good in spots that it needed to be good in. So now the offense has been clicking the last 2 years, and the defense is struggling. Well, where do we go with that? The price of being good but not great. See, the price of being good is you're almost there, right? I mean, you're this close to being great. But you're not getting that Super Bowl trophy, right? So that would make your fan base, that'll make Lamar Jackson, that'll make the organization feel better. But you keep coming up this short, right? Well, what happens with that? You're still losing assistants, head coach assistants. You still lost Mike Macdonald because he had a historic defense in Baltimore. Teams were going to want to hire him. So that pulls that situation away from the Baltimore Ravens. Now he's gone. Insert Zach Orr. He comes in, and they got to bring him. He's got to learn the system because now he's the play caller. He's got to learn about his team. You know, philosophies are going to be a little bit different, and it's not going to be what Mike Macdonald was doing. Then you got the pressure to bringing in more players. You got to get them up to speed, continuity, all these things. And what could be happening is at this point now is Lamar Jackson is starting to feel the pressure on his neck. You hear all these media pundits, everybody else. You hear Ravens fans saying Lamar has been great. He's got MVPs. He's got all these things going on. But he's not bringing home the hardware. And Lamar Jackson has had some, I'm not going to call it excuses, but he's had some situations where he didn't have the weapons. You know what I mean? He didn't have the weapons. He had Mark Andrews, and that was it. You know, you had a Nelson Aguilar. I can't even think of all the. You had a beat-up Odell Beckham. You know what I mean? So the situations have not been supplemented, you know, in a way where it's worked out for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Rashad Bateman started finally coming to his own, but they had drafted him to be that guy, and he wasn't that guy. Now you got Zay Flowers, you got Rashad Bateman, and these guys are kind of coming into their own. You was able to draft Isaiah Likely. You was able to get Derrick Henry. You got all these guys now, right? So now the offense is cooking. You got Kyle Hamilton on the defensive side. You're starting to figure out things, but then you lose Matabuke. Then you lose this guy, Marlon Humphrey, slowing down. You know, you haven't got Jair Alexander in yet. You don't even know what he's going to look like in this defense. Nate Wiggins, a young guy, then he's injured. So it's a cluster of things that are just not working out for the Ravens. And again, when I say you're good, but you're not great, this is the penalty of being good but not great. See, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to get that grace when they have to move on from quarterbacks, coaches, or offensive coordinators that go on to take head coaching jobs because they won rings. So the turnover is worth the turnover when you're getting that hardware. The Philadelphia Eagles went to a Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. So when they lose to Josh Sweats and all these other guys and lost all these coordinators in the last 3 or 4 years, it's not a bad thing because they got hardware. They danced at the top. So people are going to be more patient with those guys because they got the hardware to show, hey, this is a part of transition. This is a part of being great. When you're great, all the things around you are going to start to leave, all the pieces, all the coaching staffs, players, they're going to get their paydays. They're going to get head coaching positions. Everybody is going to be elevated. So now you have to replace these guys. Well, the Baltimore Ravens have been good. Very, very, very good. But they have not been great, and they still got to replace guys. So the job was never done, and they got to go replace them with other people. And more than likely, you don't want to bring nobody new in. You want to bring somebody who's in-house, who kind of understood the systematics under the former coordinators or players or whoever else. So you can kind of try to have a seamless transition. But you're not having that. And now you're having struggles. And those struggles are going to make people like Lamar Jackson very, very, very angry. Now, is this a DEFCON 5? It might be. It might be. I don't want to scare Ravens fans, but you're 1-3 now, right? Um, the defense isn't going to get much better. It may. I'm not going to say it's not going to get much better. It could. It could be solid enough. You hope when you bring Jair Alexander back, that can help on that back end. But you lost Nate Wiggins. We'll see how long he's out, if he's out. But it looked bad. Can Jair Alexander slow things down and make that defense formidable enough to get through while that offense is clicking at an all-time high? Now, I do think they need to run Derrick Henry more. I think John Harbaugh gets too cute sometimes, and it screws them over. And partially, probably could be because of those fumbles, too. I don't know if he's got a little bit scared, but Derrick Henry's an all-pro. He should figure it out. But I will say this. Let's just say the Baltimore Ravens can't climb out of this situation. Maybe the marriage is over at this point with Baltimore and Lamar. They spent a lot of money. That bill is going to come due at some point where you're not going to keep being able to pay all these guys without seeing that tax hit. And that might be a situation. And I have not looked into Baltimore's cap. But they've been shooting for gold the last 2 years. And at some point, you got to pay that bill. And does Lamar Jackson look at that situation and say, I did my time here, I want to be here, but at some point, we're going to have to turn over everything. We're going to have to get younger, which means they're going to be more inexperienced. Because just think about it. Even you getting Jair Alexander, he was released from Green Bay. He has not been healthy. If he was a healthy guy, Green Bay would have traded him. Or if they would have let him go, it would have been 31 suitors for his services. Because when he's healthy and stuff, he's an elite player. So we don't even know what he is. So now you're kind of like bargain bin shopping. Hopefully you can get some pieces to replace other pieces that you had. And hopefully it works out. And I think that's where the Baltimore Ravens is at. I think that's where Lamar Jackson's at this point. We cannot beat the teams that we need to beat. We just really got over the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. And I'm thinking that's what he's thinking in his head. So we have trouble beating elite teams, and we have trouble beating teams in our division. We are not an unstoppable force. And I don't know if Baltimore at this point, with salary caps going up, you're going to have to look at renegotiating and restructuring Lamar to probably be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in league history. But if you don't have the pieces to go around him, he's going to be frustrated every week. And he might demand a trade. Now, what will Lamar Jackson be worth on the trade market? 1, 2, 3, 4 first rounds? 4 first rounders? I don't know. I'm just bringing it up. Raven fans, don't come at me. I'm just bringing it up as a suggestion, as a maybe a thought. Because I heard a lot of you guys talking about he quit. I don't know if he quit. I don't know if he was frustrated and Harbaugh saw it and brought him out and said, hey, you already look like you're a little beat up. Let's just pull you out the game. I don't know. But I am saying this. This is the price of being really, really good and not being great. Because patience is out the window. You want to get the hardware. You this close to it, but yet you can't reach the top. And you're getting all your players and your coaches plucked away from you. Got to be a difficult situation to be in. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. To the next video. Peace.